Hello everyone, welcome to General Hospital Daily Channel. Please hit the subscribe button and give this episode a thumbs up. Willow at the Quartermain estate and the secret she might overhear. Let us start with Willow and the specific opportunity that living on the Quartermain property has just handed her, because the gatehouse arrangement that Michael constructed to keep an eye on Willow is also a situation where Willow has access to the Quartermain world in ways she did not have when she lived elsewhere. The geography matters. The gatehouse is close to the main house. Close enough that someone who knows the property, who moves through it regularly because of the children and the shared family space and the general requirement of being present in a place where you are ostensibly living, will inevitably be near conversations that are not meant for her. Not by design, necessarily. By the specific proximity that living somewhere creates. Brooklyn and Tracy have been the two people most actively managing the Route 91 secret on the Quartermain end. Both of them know what they know. Both of them have reasons to discuss it periodically. Tracy is the person who has consistently argued against disclosure, Brooklyn as the person who is being argued against disclosing, and who is fighting a constant internal battle between the instinct to confess and the fear of what confession costs. Those conversations happen in the main house, in hallways and kitchens and corners of large rooms. In the specific impromptu locations where two people who share a space and share a secret end up talking about the thing they share when a moment of privacy presents itself. Willow walking into one of those moments, passing around a corner, approaching a room she had a reason to enter, being somewhere she was supposed to be when a conversation she was not supposed to hear was happening, is not a far-fetched scenario. It is the kind of thing that happens on Quartermain Estate every day of the week. The house is always full. The people in it are always managing something, and the conversations that were supposed to be private are always being overheard by exactly the wrong person at exactly the wrong time. What Willow might hear is specific, and it is devastating. Brooklyn was the driver. Brooklyn drank wine before she got in the car that night. Brooklyn drove away from the scene without understanding that another car had gone off the road behind her, but then also chose not to come forward afterward because of the adoption, because of what a DUI connection would do to her chances of being Phoebe's mother. If Willow hears the full picture, not just the frame-up that Chase already knows about, but the deeper truth underneath it, she is something that goes beyond the existing material. Because here is the specific power that this information gives Willow. Brooklyn framed her. Attempted to make Willow look like the driver who fled Jordan's accident. And the reason Brooklyn knew Willow was vulnerable to that frame is that Brooklyn herself was connected to the accident in a way she had been hiding. The frame was not just mean-spirited misdirection. It was a desperate attempt to point attention somewhere else while covering the actual truth. Willow taking that to Chase is the nuclear option. Chase, who made his peace with knowing about the frame because Brooklyn came clean about that part, does not yet know about the driving. That specific additional layer, that his wife was not just a woman who did a bad thing to protect herself, but a woman who also left the scene of an accident that resulted in serious harm to people and stayed silent about it for months, is the information that could break what he rebuilt with Brooklyn. And Willow going to Chase with it would be Willow using eavesdropped information to execute exactly the kind of retaliation she specializes in. Clean, deniable, devastating. No fingerprints. Just the truth, deployed at the most damaging possible moment. The countermoves available to Brooklyn if this happens are limited, and none of them are good. She could reveal that Chase already knew about the frame-up, but that still does not address the driving secret, and it opens up questions about why Chase kept that from Willow too. The cleanest available move, which is simply confessing to Chase before Willow gets the chance to tell him, is the one Brooklyn keeps almost making and keeps pulling back from. Time is running out on that window. Jordan and Michael and the emotional territory that leads somewhere. Now let's talk about Jordan and Michael, because the foundation being laid under what might develop between them is more interesting than a simple situation where two lonely people end up in bed together. Start with the professional dynamic. Jordan is now running the company that Curtis asked Michael to protect. Michael is running his portion of the company. They are not simply colleagues who happen to be in meetings together. They are co-managing something that Curtis specifically constructed as a legacy of his intentions for Aurora. Every conversation they have about the company is a conversation that is shaped by Curtis's absence. Every decision Jordan makes in that role carries the weight of what Curtis intended when he pushed her toward it. That is not a context that produces casual professional interaction. It is emotionally charged before any personal element is introduced. Then add what they have in common that is not professional at all. Both of them have been through fire. Literally. The specific physical and psychological experience of burn trauma, which Jordan carries in her scars, and which Michael carries in the way that trauma from his own burning experience shaped a critical period of his life, is not a small thing to share. Shared trauma, particularly rare and specific trauma, creates a different kind of bond than shared interests or professional alignment. It creates the specific recognition of people who know something about what the other one survived that most people around them do not fully understand. The grief support group origin of Michael and Willow's relationship is exactly the kind of precedent being referenced here, not as a template but as an illustration of how deep emotional bonds form between people who are processing pain together in proximity. Jordan and Michael are in a situation that has similar structural elements. Not grief in quite the same form, but vulnerability. Loss. The specific rawness of people whose primary emotional support structures have just changed dramatically. Michael is missing Jacinda in the specific way that you miss someone you sent away when you genuinely cared about them. The ending was necessary, but it was not clean, and it was not what either of them wanted. That kind of ending leaves a specific kind of empty space that ordinary loneliness does not quite describe. Jordan is beginning the specific grief of a committed waiting. She has made a promise. She intends to keep it, and keeping it is going to require sustained emotional effort across months and possibly years. The early stages of that kind of sustained effort carry their own particular vulnerability. You are doing the right thing, and the right thing is very hard, and the people around you are going on with their lives while yours is in suspension. Both of them in the same building, running the same company, bonding over shared experiences that most people around them could not fully appreciate. The conditions are there. The conditions do not mean the affair is inevitable, but they mean it is not far-fetched. And the show appears to be taking this seriously as a story worth telling rather than dismissing it as unlikely. Whether it crosses into something physical, or whether it stays in the territory of emotional closeness that becomes dangerous in its own way, both of those outcomes produce real story. Curtis finding out about either version produces real consequences. And Jordan carrying guilt about something that crossed a line she promised not to cross, in a situation where Curtis trusted the people around him to protect what he left behind, is a specific kind of storyline that soap opera knows how to develop with real emotional complexity. The full picture, and what Port Charles is building toward. And now let us step back and look at what both of these stories together tell us about the larger movement of the fall, and what the summer has assembled for it. Both of these storylines are about what happens in the spaces that people leave behind when circumstances remove them from their usual positions. Curtis going to prison leaves a space in Jordan's life and in the Aurora operation that is being filled by Michael in the professional column and potentially by Michael in the emotional one as well. Brooklyn's absence from the truth about Route 91, the specific space that was created when she chose not to come forward, is now being potentially filled by Willow's eavesdropping, by Chase's investigation, by the accumulated pressure of a secret that has been held too long. In both cases, the space was created by a choice. Curtis did not choose to go to prison, but he chose to plead not guilty and go to trial when a plea deal was available. Brooklyn chose not to come forward and chose to frame Willow as an additional layer of protection for her silence. Both choices created specific vulnerabilities that are now being exploited by the circumstances around them. The specific vulnerability of the gatehouse situation is the one that is most immediately actionable. Willow is on the property. The secret is being discussed on the property. The chance encounter that produces the overheard conversation is a matter of timing and geography, and both of those are now aligned in the way that they were not when Willow lived elsewhere. Brooklyn needs to tell Chase the truth before Willow finds a reason to tell him. That is the most available protective move. And every day it does not happen is another day that the window for self-determination closes a little further. Thank you for watching. For a daily update, don't forget to subscribe the channel and hit the bell icon.